Dear God. All right. I have no idea what I'm doing in terms of StreamYard, but I'm happy to be here on my second show ever. I'm mostly here because people said I wouldn't do it, so I'm here just to prove them wrong. While I'm here, I think I'd like to talk about this, well, a couple different things in reference to the, I don't know if you guys heard, but Luka Doncic got traded to an NBA expansion team called the Lakers. And everyone seems to think it was a surprise, excuse me. But it was reported today that as of January 7th, that story, or excuse me, that move has been worked on, um, essentially behind the scenes. And the, I feel like the word narrative is overused, but I'm going to use it. The narrative is that LeBron had nothing to do with it. He was surprised, he was shocked, all that stuff, right? But I strongly doubt that, and of course, this is if this any of this is true. I strongly doubt that if this move had been being worked on since the 7th, that there was no way he or his team, aka Clutch, who also represents Anthony Davis, would be completely ignorant of this taking place. So I kind of wanted to start there, and what I did is because I've been alive long enough to see, or at least been alive long enough to make emotionally mature assumptions based on um, LeBron's past behaviors and patterns, right? So I immediately think something's up when the story that he and his team had nothing to do with it, the fact that that story was released almost as immediate as the trade itself, tells you that something stunk with this. I I typically find that the more people over explain something, the more likely it is that they're lying or overcompensating for something. So it's not like this is some isolated incident. I mean, even when I was doing, a little bit of background stuff for this topic, LeBron and his team being involved with front office moves, no matter what the team is, it didn't take me very long to find a lot of substantial pieces of writing that say the exact same thing. LeBron had nothing to do with it. Clutch had nothing to do with it. Strive for greatness. Uh, Winning isn't for everyone. Hashtag whatever. All that stuff, right? All of that stuff would have been covered. But when you look at some of the major, I wouldn't say major because some of them are iffy. I mean, there's a Kendrick Perkins signing on here. There's a Richard Jefferson signing on here. Anyways, a lot of the major moves can be directly tied to LeBron in several, like 2 or 3 degree loosely connected ways. But a lot of them, it's just like, don't piss down my back and tell me it's raining, right? So when AD first went to the Lakers, let me pull up the story here just to make sure I'm not lying about everything. When AD went to the Lakers, I will never forget the his last game with the Pelicans. He wore a T-shirt that said "That's all, folks." Clearly signifying that he's aware of situationally where he is. He's aware of um, his perception, so he wears a shirt that says "That's all, folks." This is back when the press actually pressed people about something that could be seen as harmful. Somebody from the press asked him, "Hey, did you wear a 'That's all, folks' shirt because this is your last game with New Orleans? Did you know anything about this?" And AD, even back then, uh, kind of some shaky moves. Some shaky comments talking about he didn't pick that shirt, he didn't know it was going to be that shirt. Uh, you know, he had nothing to do with it. But I don't know if people remember this. Also being reported back then was that he and LeBron had gone to dinner previous to the trade, and it was just a social gathering, right? But they both have the same agent, which is LeBron, because LeBron represents himself. They're both related pretty closely to what's his face? Oh, Rich Paul. And magically, this transaction just takes place when it was completely unheard of, unthought of, right? And the story being put out was that again, LeBron had nothing to do with it, yet he had direct ties with AD the night before the trade, but not, excuse me, the night before all this took place, right? So that was in, what was that, 2018? Okay. 2019, if my time is correctly, is right around when Kyrie Irving requested a trade from the Cavs. He wasn't very specific about why, right? He, I don't even, let me see if I can find some quotes. He talked around the idea that he felt he could play better basketball for a different team. Come to find out, years after the fact, that it wasn't LeBron James who wanted him out of there. Yet, the majority of the reporting coming out of the Cavaliers camp was that, again, LeBron was blindsided. He had no idea. This was a surprise. He wished Kyrie would stay forever, strive for greatness, blah, blah, blah. Right? And out that who's Duran? uh, LeBron was directly tied to Kyrie not wanting to be there. All right. That's 2019. LeBron goes to the Lakers, right? This is 2022. Let me pull up this guy here. Okay. This is 2022. Again, LeBron and his camp asked about personnel decisions with the Lakers. LeBron's quote, I don't push the buttons, end quote. That's probably true, um, because in order to push a button, you need to be able to read what the button does. So I would assume LeBron doesn't push a lot of buttons because he just doesn't know what's going to happen. Um, but again, story comes out. He has nothing to do with any moves, even when a lot of these moves come out that seem to directly benefit either him or somebody that comes from his camp. Uh, and that was right around, if I remember correctly, that was right around the whole Russell Westbrook drama, which also LeBron pushed for because he later came out and said, not again indirectly because he's passive, he indirectly came out and said, uh, that move was a mistake. So taking ownership, somewhat again, not directly because that would be implicating, but taking ownership of the move. And everybody did know that the only reason Russell Westbrook was, in a Lakers uniform was because of LeBron. And the one thing that was not really talked about, unless you were like an independent content person, the one thing that wasn't talked about is that the Russell Westbrook signing was a win-win for LeBron, no matter what. If they lose, it's because Russ is being Russ, right? Which, in my mind, is a 110% at all times slasher to the paint, hustle basketball player with a crazy fashion sense, but seems like a decent human being. That's not how the Lakers played him, though. Lakers played him out of position, out of character, out of personality, all that stuff. He wasn't able to be himself, but he was there because LeBron wanted him there. Okay, look how Russ is balling out now. You see the difference. Russ is balling out. He's probably going to be in the final. Well, I don't know. Dallas. It could be Dallas or Denver this year in the finals. But either way, he's balling out now, right? But yet LeBron had nothing to do with the move initially. So, all right, that's one more story. So, what are we up to? Four stories in less than 3 years? What do we got here? Oh, okay. Here's another story, and this came directly from Genie Bus in 2022. Headline: Angry Lakers owner Jeannie Buss denies rogue LeBron James rumor. What in the hell is a rumor? LeBron James rumor amid gut wrenching issue. Uh, this this reeks of abused spouse syndrome, which I don't know if that's a thing. ASS. If it's a thing, I'm claiming it. This is abused spouse syndrome in that, like, and I'm not glorifying this by any means, but if you see somebody that's in a toxic relationship and they're consistently making excuses for the other half, whatever that looks like, it could be a safe assumption that there's some kind of I forget the name of the syndrome attached to whenever you're held hostage. It'll come back to me. But that idea where you fall in love with your captor because they immediately just start making excuses for the actions or making excuses for the perception that they're taking actions. So let's see. A Laker owner, Jeannie Buss, let the world know who runs the famed NBA franchise in a fiery interview about the direction of the team after Los Angeles' awful season. And it was awful. Okay. And I quote, do they have final say? No. Are they running the team? No, not at all, Buss said. Excuse me. Buss told the Los Angeles Times about the Lakers star LeBron James and his camp at Clutch Sports. I am controlling owner of the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm held accountable for every decision that's made here. Okay. So I know that I look into stuff a lot, but even if you read broadly between the lines, nowhere does she say anywhere in this statement that LeBron has no say in a decision or LeBron has no awareness of a decision. You talk around the answer because you know the truth is ugly. You know the truth is that LeBron and Clutch have their clutches on this franchise and they continue to do so. And the story of them having nothing to do with this AD trade just tells you again everything you need to know because it's coming out as much or more than the trade news itself. And that's coming directly from Jeannie Buss. So if a member of the Buss family at all, let alone the owner, if a member of the Buss family at all has to explain their position within the Lakers franchise of all organizations, I, what are we doing here? That's that's tantamount to Neil deGrasse Tyson having to explain his credentials to somebody that works at I don't know insert job here that's less than what he knows, which is like everything. It it's ridiculous. There's such a shaky foundation with every team that the man goes to that this is where we are. I need to remember the name of that syndrome. It'll come back to me. You got the firing of David Blatt in Cleveland. See if I can find a year for that. But you have the firing of David Blatt in Cleveland. That man finished with a winning record with Cleveland. He brought that like he they did everything they could for that team with respect to the contract restrictions and personalities, right? But what's one of the first stories that came out? LeBron had nothing to do with it. His team had nothing to do with it. Clutch for life, strive for greatness, right? Um, but everybody knows that he wanted David Blatt out of there to get Tyronn Lue in there. Tyronn Lue, whatever. Same thing with Darvin Ham. Darvin Ham brings them the most coveted championship in the history of professional sports, being the NBA in-season tournament, a cup. That thing's prestigious. It's I've seen little kids talk about how they dream of hoisting that cup up. Anyways, he brings them this championship. Gone, gone so quickly. And guess who he's replaced with? JJ Redick, another closely LeBron tied person, right? So you have JJ Redick who had been doing the podcasts with LeBron, Mind the Game. Uh, they were consistent. I mean, they were certainly more consistent than LeBron's been at the free throw line. Bars. You're welcome. You're welcome, world. Uh, but his hiring, like so many other LeBron James based decisions, because they are, was questionable. Um, a lot of people don't remember when the Lakers were trash, which they are now too. But when the Lakers were trash, JJ Redick was on TV talking about, well, if they're trash, that's okay. This season should be about celebrating LeBron's scoring, celebrating LeBron's whatever, drive for greatness. Excuse me. You don't think it's weird that that man, the man who celebrates, basically celebrates a player retiring on the court but still getting paid for it, that man ends up being the coach within 2 years, and you don't see how that could be shady. A man with no coaching background other than I think his second grade, his one of his kids' children's second grade softball team or something like that. It might have been squash or one of those sports. Anyways, no background in coaching whatsoever. Certainly not a background to coach professional athletes um, of such a storied franchise. So you have this hiring comes out, says this is LeBron, but like comes out, says he had nothing to do with the hiring. Oh, okay, all right, cool. Number 55th pick draft comes, and stop me if you've heard this before. Lakers sign Bronny James, right? I am not going to hate on that kid. He's a kid. He does not deserve hate until I see him openly embracing his privilege or openly acknowledging that he he shouldn't be in the league. Until I hear him bragging on that, it's really hard for me to speak ill of him. But everybody knows that he shouldn't be drafted at all, let alone to the Lakers, and that he is on that team just to keep LeBron engaged. But then you have on the other side of that, you have a JJ Redick sitting there talking about how Bronny earned this, and he's a great 3 and D player, and he has great work ethic. And I'm thinking to myself, all these things that you're describing about Bronny James just kind of describe what a great basketball, well, really what a basketball player should be, right? It's like that, you don't need to be congratulated for stuff you're supposed to be doing. So you're trying to highlight all these reasons as to why you picked him, but you're just naming reasons why basketball players are good. There's nothing that differentiates him. So the world knows that he's only there because of LeBron. But when you listen to LeBron's camp, they will tell you they had nothing to do with it. So I know that society as a whole has gotten dumber. I mean, me too. I couldn't even remember the word dumber. Uh, Society as a whole has gotten dumber, and people don't have to reflect back on people don't have to reflect on past behaviors in order to make maybe a safe assumption as to what might happen. But when we have, I mean, going back all the way to what, 2017, 2018, all these stories where something's immediately denied involving a move by a LeBron James led team, almost as much as the stories put out. And where there's smoke, there's fire. So wouldn't it be fair to say that with this story, or excuse me, with this move supposedly being started around the 7th of January, if that is true, wouldn't it be safe to say then that somebody, in his camp knew about this the entire time? Um, especially when especially when they're denying it so openly. So I really just wanted to touch on that. Oh, and I was forgetting low hanging fruit, like LeBron saying that his roster's too top heavy, and then comes out a year later saying he has nothing to do with decisions, even though the season before he talks about decisions. So, people aren't even they're not even remembering their lies for being, real. Remembering a lie takes a certain amount of intelligence that I think it's fair to say that LeBron doesn't have. He doesn't have. Yeah, he's rich. He's richer than I'll ever be. sure. But he like the emotional awareness, the intelligence to think that people record everything. And I'm going to be a hypocrite here, but people talk about anything and everything you do. Some people are going to keep up with that. And when you have people that want to hold you accountable for the things that you say, albeit people from my generation and older, because it's certainly not this current young generation. When you have a group of people that want to hold you accountable, you're going to have to start at least being consistent with your lies, which you're not. And not only are you not consistent with your lies, but your team isn't consistent with your lies. Your team's press team isn't consistent with, your lies. Your coaching staff isn't consistent with your lies. The people that cover the situation aren't consistent. You got Kendrick Perkins on one hand saying it's great, black nepotism, great, strive for greatness. Put that man's brain in a fish, the fish will swim backwards. He'll get all that stuff off his chest. But then a year later, he'll have a completely different take on the exact situation, and no information has changed. Nothing new has come of this. But we move as these talking heads ask us to move, which is in a direction of doom and failure. This Luka trade is already being touted because I'm gonna say it's the Luka trade, not the AD trade. This Luka trade is already being touted as the greatest trade in the history of basketball. And I've seen some spots say greatest trade. I've seen some say most surprising. Other terms to describe it, but I personally think that's just a marketing ploy to pump up its value if and when um, the Lakers win a chip. I fully anticipate that by 2026, if they do win a chip, LeBron will be the first one out there saying, well, I guess it would be 2025. LeBron would be the first one out there saying that he knew this move would work because he dreamt of playing with Luca in 1993. Um, and that's when he knew that he was destined to play with Luca, even though Luca's 25 years old, so he couldn't have been born in 93. That's just an example. But it's going to be spun that he was responsible for this move, and the reason I'm irritated is because there's a 99.4% chance that's exactly what's going to take place. We know that because it's the same reason he said he made the Cavs. He made the Cavs a winning. He taught them how to win, and that's why they're great now. That's why Donovan Mitchell's so great now because LeBron set the set the trend for winning. Um, I don't know if he knows what the word trend means. I don't know if he knows what a lot of words mean. Let me do this real quick here. Definition of There we go. Here Webster's defines the word abuse. Treat a person or an animal with cruelty or violence, especially regularly or repeatedly. Okay. Am I saying the Lakers are the spouse tucked up in the corner, protecting themselves, protecting their face, their jaw, so they don't get bruised as easily? While LeBron, the big bad bully spouse, stands there with his fist clenched and his strive for greatness chain. Yeah, they are. They somebody needs to call some kind of hotline for the Lakers because they're not in a comfortable enough space to speak up for themselves. But this is one of those, you see an old lady getting mugged in the middle of the street, go help them because senility might have set in. They may not even know what's happening or where they are. And I think that's kind of what's going on with the Lakers. I think they're so burnt out. They have such Stockholm syndrome. That's what it is. The Lakers have Stockholm syndrome. They're so exhausted that LeBron and his team can do whatever they want because they know the Lakers don't have the power to fight it or the energy. I mean, Christ, we're living in a time where the Cavs signed Dwayne Wade, 2017. Cavs signed Dwayne Wade, right? Dwayne Wade is one of my favorite players ever, and that's not close. Step back through the leg crossover to a jumper. I saw that man make Aaron Snow fall out of a, excuse me, Eric Snow fall out of a highlight completely. First time I'd ever seen that. Um, what, what's he doing on the Cavs, right? Oh, direct relation to LeBron. Carmelo Anthony signs to the Lakers. LeBron says, "Oh, now's the time, brother." All right, cool. So now's the time, but it wasn't the time the year before, or the year before, or the year before, any of those years prior. But now destiny has brought y'all to do what? Nothing. Okay, another direct tie to LeBron. All I'm saying is take a look at the patterns and follow them. And you'll see over time, you'll see in the history books when they write about us, if books are even a thing, if language is even a thing, they'll say 2013. No, excuse me. Oh man, guess it's been that long. We'll say 2016. 2016 through 20. He probably has one more season after this. For 10 years, LeBron James behind the scenes orchestrated every major move with every organization he was involved with. I mean, it's going to happen. It's a foregone conclusion. If Back to the Future was a real thing, we would 1,000% see what's his name, McFly. Yeah, you will see Marty McFly pass through here with an almanac, which is a book for any kids that don't know, with an almanac or a sports betting something saying that during 2016 through 2026, LeBron James was found guilty of, I don't know, a bunch of suspect stuff and a bunch of shady stuff. But the Balco stuff will come out, the cheating stuff will come out, all that'll come out. And it's going to be a big I told you so because the internet is forever. All right. Smash that like button, subscribe. That's what they told me to say. That's what these note cards behind me say to say. Uh, Follow at Speedmention on YouTube. If you see this, comment. I'll see it. I'll comment back. Maybe, probably. Yeah, I will because I have no life. And let's awkward close.